The Taro Empire's massive warships filled the sky above Nova Praha Colony. Their black hulls blocked the sunlight, casting long shadows across the settlement below. Admiral Hyun Thorsen stood motionless on the bridge of his command ship, the Odin's Spear. His weathered face showed no emotion as he watched the tactical display. The blue dot representing Nova Praha turned red, then disappeared completely. "Another one lost," he whispered. Commander Day approached him carefully. Her uniform was perfectly pressed despite being on duty for 20 hours straight. "Sir, I have bad news from Proxima Centauri," she said quietly. Thorsen didn't turn. "Tell me." "The Fifth Fleet is gone. All ships destroyed or captured." Admiral Park's final transmission came through before communications went dark. Commander Day's voice trembled slightly. "They fought well, sir." Thorsen nodded slowly. "They always do. But it's never enough against the Taro weapons." He walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. Humanity had once controlled over 200 star systems. Now they held barely 30. Emperor Kang's forces moved like a plague across the galaxy, methodically conquering everything in their path. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, and their soldiers utterly loyal. "Plot a course back to Earth," Thorsen ordered. "Rally whatever ships remain." The journey back to the Sol system was solemn. Thorsen's fleet had started with 15 capital ships 3 months ago. Now only 7 remained, all bearing battle scars. As they passed Neptune's orbit, they encountered other human vessels in similar condition, the remnants of once proud battle groups now reduced to limping survivors. In his private quarters, Thorsen touched the silver hammer pendant that hung around his neck. 16 generations of his family had worn it, dating back to when humans first left Earth. According to family legend, it contained metal from an actual Viking weapon from ancient Scandinavia. He had always taken comfort in its weight against his chest, but today it felt impossibly heavy. "Computer, show current territory map," he commanded. The holographic display illuminated his quarters with a map of known space. Red regions representing Taro control covered most of the projection. The small blue area showing human territory looked pitifully small in comparison. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. "Admiral, priority transmission coming in," his communications officer reported. It's from Emperor Kang himself." Thorsen straightened his uniform and activated his screen. The face that appeared belonged to a being who looked almost human except for his golden eyes and slightly bluish skin. Emperor Kang smiled without warmth. "Admiral Thorsen," the Emperor said smoothly, "I've heard much about you. Your tactics at the Battle of Rigel were interesting, if ultimately futile." "You honor me with your attention, Emperor," Thorsen replied carefully. "Let us dispense with pleasantries. Your species has fought admirably, but the outcome was never in doubt. I offer humanity terms. Surrender all military assets and accept Taro governance within 30 days, or face complete extinction. My forces are positioned to strike Earth directly." The transmission ended before Thorsen could respond. He sat in silence for several minutes, calculating options that didn't exist. The combined human fleet couldn't stop even half of the Taro armada. Ground defenses would buy days, not weeks. Sleep evaded him that night. Near midnight, Thorsen made a decision. He entered his personal authorization code into his family's private database, a collection of records passed down through generations of Thorsens. He navigated to a locked section that required DNA verification. Pressing his thumb against the scanner, he accessed files he had never opened before. His grandfather had warned him about this archive, calling it knowledge best left buried until the darkest hour. That hour had certainly arrived. The files contained information about something called the Berserker Protocol, a military enhancement program developed 3 centuries earlier, during humanity's first contact with hostile alien species. The scientists had discovered how to activate dormant genetic pathways in humans with specific ancestry, particularly those with Norse heritage. The activated genes unlocked primal combat abilities, enhanced strength, speed, pain resistance, and most importantly, a controlled battle fury that made soldiers nearly unstoppable in combat. Test subjects had displayed fighting capabilities far beyond normal human limits. But the documents also contained warnings. Many test subjects couldn't control the rage afterward. Some never returned to normal. The program was shut down and classified at the highest level after several incidents where enhanced soldiers attacked their own commanders. Thorson read until sunrise, absorbing every detail about the procedure, the results, and the risks. As morning light filtered through his viewport, he made his decision. He pressed his communication panel. "Commander Da, arrange a secret meeting. Top military officials and our leading geneticists. Location: Titan Base Alpha. No records, no transmissions." When Commander Day asked for the meeting subject, Thorson hesitated only briefly. "Tell them it's about the Berserker Protocol. And tell them to hurry. We have less than 30 days. Titan Base Alpha sat hidden within the largest moon of Saturn. Its existence was known to fewer than 200 people in the entire human government. Admiral Thorson's shuttle landed in a concealed hangar bay carved deep into the icy surface. Commander Dai walked beside him as they passed through 5 security checkpoints. "Are you certain about this, sir?" she asked quietly. "The protocols described in those files. I'm certain about our defeat if we don't try something dramatic," Thorson replied. "Emperor Kang has given us 30 days. We will use them well." The meeting room waited at the bottom level of the base. 20 people sat around a large round table made of dark wood. Ancient Norse runes were carved into its edge, a reminder of humanity's distant past. Military officers in sharp uniforms sat beside scientists in white lab coats. 2 diplomats whispered to each other in the corner. Admiral Thorson took his place and activated the room's security measures. "What I am about to discuss is classified beyond top secret. If word reaches the Tarot, our last hope dies." He shared what he had discovered in his family archives. The room grew tense as he explained the Berserker Protocol, a genetic enhancement program designed to access dormant warrior genes in humans with specific ancestry. Dr. Subin, a small woman with serious eyes, stood up when he finished. As the leading expert in human genetic modification, her opinion carried significant weight. "Admiral, I must warn everyone here," she said firmly. "The Berserker Protocol was banned for very good reasons. Yes, it awakens dormant genetic pathways. Yes, it accesses the primal fury of our ancestors, particularly those with Norse heritage. The test subjects did become nearly unstoppable in combat, but," she paused, looking directly at Thorson, "they became difficult to control afterward." She activated a holographic display showing brain scans. The enhancement changes how the brain processes fear and aggression. The original test subjects from 3 centuries ago experienced severe psychological effects. Some never returned to normal human behavior. Some had to be contained. Some had to be eliminated. Colonel June, a tall man with a scared face, stood up. "What were their combat capabilities?" Dr. Subin showed new images. Test subjects lifting impossible weights, moving faster than normal humans could track, continuing to fight despite injuries that should have been incapacitating. Triple normal human strength at minimum, doubled reaction speed, pain suppression beyond anything modern medicine can produce, and a combat focus that borders on precognition, she explained. "But the price." "My Special Forces unit volunteers for the procedure," Colonel June interrupted. His voice left no room for debate. Admiral Thorson looked around the table. "Does anyone have a better plan to stop the Tarot fleet?" Silence answered him. "Then we proceed," Thorson said. "Dr. Subin, how quickly can your team prepare the treatment?" She frowned. 2 weeks to recreate the formula properly. "But Admiral, someone needs to oversee the enhanced soldiers. Someone with authority they might still recognize even in their battle rage." Thorson nodded. "I understand. And so do I," he added, stunning the room to silence. "I will undergo the procedure myself." Arguments erupted immediately. General Min slammed his fist on the table. "You can't risk yourself. You're the best strategic mind we have left." "Exactly," said Thorson. "And I need to understand what these soldiers will experience if I'm to lead them effectively." For 2 weeks, Dr. Subin and her team worked without breaks. They converted a section of the base into a treatment facility. 30 soldiers from Colonel Jun's Special Forces unit prepared for the procedure through intensive physical training and psychological conditioning. Admiral Thorson trained alongside them. At night, he studied the ancient Norse sagas in his family archives, trying to understand the mindset of the warriors whose genetic memory they would soon awaken. The day of the procedure arrived. Admiral Thorson lay on a medical table, watching as Dr. Subin prepared the injection. "Last chance to reconsider," she said quietly. "Proceed," he ordered. The blue liquid entered his veins. At first, he felt nothing. Then heat began spreading from his chest outward. His heart pounded faster. Sweat broke out across his body. His vision sharpened until he could count the threads in Dr. Subin's lab coat from across the room. Then came the pain, his muscles tearing and rebuilding themselves, bones becoming denser, nerves rewiring. He clenched his teeth to avoid screaming. On nearby tables, Colonel Jun and his soldiers underwent the same transformation. Thorson watched as his veins turned bright blue beneath his skin, tracing patterns like frost on a window. Ancient memories not his own flashed through his mind. Charging across frozen fields with axe in hand, the thunder of battle drums, the taste of salt spray from longship voyages. The battle rage of warriors long dead awakened inside him. It called for blood, for conquest, for glory. "Admiral." Dr. Subin's voice seemed to come from far away. "Admiral Thorson, can you hear me?" He forced himself to focus on her face. It took every ounce of his willpower to push back the red haze trying to consume his thoughts. "I hear you," he managed to say, his voice deeper and rougher than before. "And I remain in control. For now." The last human defense line at Neptune fell quickly. Terra warships smashed through the hastily constructed weapon platforms and continued their steady push toward Earth. Their massive dreadnoughts moved in perfect formation, their hulls shining under the distant sun. Fleet Commander Ta stood proudly on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Eternal Victory. At 60 kilometers long, it was the largest warship ever built. 300 smaller vessels surrounded it, forming an attack fleet that no force in the galaxy had ever defeated. "Status report," Commander Ta ordered. "Human defenses are collapsing across the system," his second officer reported. "Their remaining capital ships have retreated to Mars. Earth's orbital platforms are activating, but our projections show they will last less than 2 days against our forces." Commander Ta nodded with satisfaction. "The Emperor will be pleased. Prepare the formal demand for surrender. I want it broadcast to their leaders when we reach Mars orbit." On Mars, hidden beneath the surface of Olympus Mons, Admiral Thorson and his enhanced soldiers prepared for battle. The 2 weeks since their transformation had been difficult. 5 soldiers had been lost to uncontrollable rage. The others had learned to channel their fury through constant training and mental discipline. Thorson felt the changes in his body every moment. His muscles rippled with new strength. His senses detected things no normal human could perceive. Most troubling was the constant presence of the rage, a red haze at the edge of his mind that promised power if he would only surrender to it. "Final equipment check," he ordered as they boarded their ships. The plan was simple and desperate. While Earth's remaining fleet engaged the Terro Armada as a distraction, Thorson's small squadron of unmarked fighters would attempt something no military strategist would expect: a direct assault on the Terro flagship. 32 ships, each carrying 1 enhanced soldier and a pilot, launched quietly from Mars. They were small and stealthy, designed to avoid detection until the last possible moment. Inside the lead craft, Admiral Thorson reviewed the mission one final time. The ship vibrated around him as they accelerated toward the approaching Terro fleet. "Heart rate elevated but stable," reported his pilot. "Sir, are you certain about this approach? The simulations give us less than 15% survival probability." Thorson felt the fire building in his blood as battle approached. The ancient warrior genes activated, preparing his body for combat. His hands gripped the harness tightly enough to bend the metal. "Probability means nothing today," he replied, his voice deeper and rougher than before. "We need only one chance." He opened the communication channel to the other ships. "Listen carefully. In moments, we face the greatest battle of our lives." He paused, fighting to keep his thoughts clear as the berserker genes pushed for control. "Remember your training. Channel the fury. Do not let it consume you. Use it as a weapon, but you must remain its master." Colonel June's voice came through the channel. "For Earth. For humanity. For Earth," the others echoed. The Terro fleet detected them too late. By the time alarms sounded on the flagship, the small human vessels were already executing their final approach. Defensive cannons fired desperately, destroying 5 of the attackers. The rest continued their suicidal charge. "What are they doing?" Commander Ta demanded as he watched the tactical display. No ship could penetrate their shields through conventional attacks. Then he understood. The human vessels weren't trying to shoot their way through. They were going to crash directly into the hangar base, a gap in the shield coverage necessary for the Terro's own fighters to deploy. "Close the hangar doors. Deploy all defense forces," he shouted. Too late. 27 human ships slammed into various entry points of the massive flagship. The crashes triggered emergency containment fields that prevented catastrophic decompression, exactly as the humans had planned. Inside the main hangar bay, Admiral Thorson pulled himself from the wreckage of his ship. Around him, Terro security forces were already responding, their energy weapons charging. The pain of the crash meant nothing to his enhanced body. He reached for his ancestral hammer. The weapon had been modified with gravitational amplifiers that increased its impact force 100-fold. The silver hammerhead gleamed under the hangar lights. "Now," he growled to himself, finally releasing the carefully controlled berserker rage. The world slowed around him. His vision sharpened until he could see the individual scales on the Terro soldier's skin. He moved with impossible speed, crossing the hangar before the first energy blast could reach him. The Terro guards fired in panic as the human attackers emerged from their crashed ships. Energy weapons that should have vaporized normal soldiers merely slowed the enhanced humans. Wounds that should have been fatal closed within seconds. Thorson led the charge, his hammer swinging in devastating arcs. Each impact crushed Terro battle armor like paper. 3 guards attempted to surround him. He moved between them so quickly they couldn't track him, leaving broken bodies in his wake. Colonel June and his soldiers fought with equal ferocity, pushing deeper into the flagship. They moved with coordinated precision despite their berserker rage, a testament to their training. On the bridge, Commander Ta watched with growing horror as his internal security cameras showed the intruders' unstoppable advance. His elite guard, veterans of 100 battles, fell before these strange humans who moved like blurs and fought with impossible strength. "What manner of demons has Earth unleashed?" he whispered. An aide approached, trembling. "Sir, they've breached level 7. They're heading for the central power core." Commander Ta had never known defeat in 30 years of military service. He had never retreated from battle. But as he watched these berserker humans tear through his flagship's defenses, he made a decision that would shock the entire empire. "Order all ships to disengage," he commanded. "We must withdraw and report this new human weapon to the Emperor immediately." Alarms sounded throughout the Terro fleet as the unthinkable order spread. Retreat. For the first time in decades, the Terro Empire had tasted defeat, and as the massive fleet turned away from Earth, Admiral Thorson stood in the ruined command center of a captured Terro cruiser, breathing heavily as he forced the berserker rage back into its metal cage. The battle was won. The war had just begun. The news of the Taro retreat spread like wildfire across the remaining human colonies. Video footage, captured by monitoring satellites, showed the unbelievable sight of the mighty Taro fleet turning away from Earth. For a population that had known only defeat and retreat for years, the images brought something long forgotten: hope. More incredible were the rumors about how it happened. Stories told of human warriors with supernatural strength and speed who had boarded the Taro flagship itself. Some accounts claimed these soldiers could survive direct energy weapon hits and continue fighting. Within days, Admiral Thorson made these rumors official. In a system-wide broadcast, he revealed the existence of the Enhanced Soldier Program, which he now called the Fenrir Brigade, named after the monstrous wolf from Norse mythology. "We have awakened the ancient strength that sleeps in human DNA," he announced, his deeper voice and more muscular frame visible evidence of his transformation. "The Taro Empire believed they could exterminate us like insects. They have discovered that humans are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy when cornered." Over the next 3 weeks, the Fenrir Brigade led lightning attacks against Taro outposts throughout the Sol system. Their 30 enhanced warriors, now grown to 100 as new volunteers underwent the procedure, became the spearhead of humanity's sudden counterattack. The brigade adopted Norse symbols and combat techniques. Their ships were painted with red and black markings that resembled the patterns found on ancient Viking longboats. They wore armor decorated with runes and carried weapons inspired by ancient designs, but powered by advanced technology. On Mars, a ceremony marked the planet's official liberation from Taro control. The Red Planet had been under enemy occupation for 6 months. Now the Taro governor and his staff were prisoners, and the human colonists celebrated in the streets. Admiral Thorson stood on the red soil, watching as the blue Earth flag was raised alongside the new Fenrir Brigade banner, a black wolf on a red background. His enhanced senses let him hear conversations from hundreds of meters away. He could smell the different emotions in the crowd: joy, relief, and excitement. Dr. Subin approached him quietly. Her medical team had established a research facility on Mars to monitor the enhanced soldiers and develop ways to manage the side effects of the Berserker Protocol. "Admiral, may I speak with you privately?" she asked. They walked away from the crowd to a quiet area near the ceremony platform. Dr. Subin scanned him with a medical device, frowning at the results. "Your hormone levels are concerning," she said. "The combat chemicals in your system should decrease between battles, but they're remaining elevated." Thorson nodded. He had felt the change himself. "The bloodlust is getting stronger," he admitted quietly. "After each battle, it's harder to come back. The rage wants to stay in control." A shadow of fear crossed Dr. Subin's face, but she quickly returned to her professional demeanor. "We're working on a stabilizer," she promised. "Something to help manage the more aggressive effects while maintaining the physical enhancements. Just hold on a little longer." "I will," Thorson said, though uncertainty crept into his voice. "Has Colonel June reported similar issues?" "Yes, and several others. 3 of the original group have had to be sedated and placed in stasis until we find a solution." Their aggression became uncontrollable. Their conversation was interrupted by Commander Dai, who approached with an urgent message. "Sir, we've intercepted Taro communications. They're deploying something new, specialized hunter units equipped with neural disruptors designed specifically to counter berserkers." Thorson's eyes narrowed. "They've adapted quickly. Where are these units heading?" "Alpha Centauri. They seem to be preparing to make a stand there to stop our advance." The Alpha Centauri system was humanity's oldest and most developed colony outside Sol. Its recapture would be both strategically and symbolically important. If the Taro were bringing new weapons designed to counter the Fenrir Brigade, this would be the true test of humanity's new advantage. "Prepare the fleet," Thorson ordered. "I want every enhanced soldier ready for combat within 12 hours. 3 days later, the battle for Alpha Centauri began. The Taro forces had established a defensive perimeter around the main planet, with their new hunter units stationed on fast-moving destroyer ships. The first assault by the Fenrir Brigade met unexpected resistance. The Terror Hunters wore specialized armor and carried weapons that emitted targeted neural pulses. When struck by these pulses, several enhanced soldiers temporarily lost control of their bodies or fell into confused states where they couldn't distinguish friend from foe. 6 berserkers died in the first hour of combat. 5 more were seriously wounded and had to retreat. For the first time since their creation, the Fenrir Brigade faced an enemy adapted to counter them. Thorson called an emergency meeting on his command ship. "We need to adjust our tactics," he told the gathered officers. "The neural disruptors affect our neural pathways, but only at close range. We need to engage differently." Colonel June, his armor scarred from recent combat, spoke up. "I have an idea, Admiral. Their hunter units expect us to attack head-on, as we've done before. What if we use more traditional human tactics instead? Deception rather than direct assault." Thorson smiled slowly. "The berserker rage makes us want to charge forward, but we're still human strategists underneath. Let's show them that." The next day, the Terror Hunters pursued what appeared to be a retreating berserker squad. The enhanced humans fled toward a seemingly empty area of space. The hunters followed eagerly, directly into a minefield that the humans had quietly deployed during the night. As explosions disabled the Terror ships, Colonel June led a boarding party that struck from an unexpected direction. Despite taking heavy fire from the neural disruptors, they managed to capture 3 Terror dreadnoughts intact. By the 3rd day, the human forces had adapted completely to the Terror's new weapons. The berserkers fought in pairs, with one drawing fire while the other attacked from behind. They used long-range weapons instead of engaging in close combat. They employed electronic countermeasures that disrupted the neural disruptors. When Colonel June's captured dreadnoughts turned their weapons against their former fleet, the Terror commander surrendered the system. The tide of war had definitively turned. For the first time, humans were advancing instead of retreating, and the mighty Terror Empire was on the defensive. The massive dreadnought Ragnarok moved steadily through space, its engines glowing blue against the darkness. Once the pride of the Terror fleet, it now served as Admiral Thorson's flagship. He had renamed it after the Norse end of the world, fitting for the mission they now undertook. Standing on the bridge, Thorson looked out at the stars. His enhanced vision could detect details no normal human could see. Behind the Ragnarok followed over 500 ships, the combined forces of planets liberated from Terror control over the past 3 months. "We're approaching the outer defense perimeter of the Terror home system," reported Commander Da. "Their long-range scanners have detected us." Thorson nodded. His body had changed significantly since the Berserker protocol treatment. He stood taller, his muscles more defined. A network of faint blue lines showed beneath his skin where the genetic changes had taken root. Dr. Subin's stabilizer treatments helped him control the rage, but it remained inside him like a caged animal, waiting for release. "Open a channel to all ships," he ordered. When the communications officer nodded, Thorson spoke to the entire fleet. "We approach the heart of the empire that sought to destroy us. Remember why we fight, not for revenge, but for freedom. Not just for humans, but for all species suffering under Terror rule." On the Terror homeworld, panic spread through the capital city. Civilians rushed to evacuation centers as defense forces scrambled to prepare. No enemy had ever reached their planet. Many had believed it impossible. In his mountain fortress palace, Emperor Kang received the reports with unusual calm. Unlike his advisors who urged immediate evacuation, the emperor seemed almost expectant. "I will not flee from primitive savages," he declared to his war council. "Prepare my royal guard. I will meet these humans myself." The battle for the Terror homeworld lasted just 14 hours, brief by the standards of the war. The Fenrir Brigade led precise strikes against key defense installations rather than cities or civilian areas. Their strategy focused on military targets, avoiding unnecessary bloodshed. Colonel June led the main assault team that breached the mountain fortress. The royal guards fought bravely, but couldn't match the enhanced humans. By nightfall, the path to the Emperor's throne room lay open. Admiral Thorson walked the final approach himself, accompanied by Colonel June and Dr. Subin. The grand hallway leading to the throne room was lined with ancient artifacts from 100 conquered worlds, a museum of imperial victories. "Be ready for anything," Thorson warned. "The Emperor may have some final weapon or trap prepared." The throne room doors, massive structures of metal and crystal, opened automatically as they approached. Inside, Emperor Kang sat alone on his throne. His royal guards stood at a distance, weapons lowered. "Admiral Thorson," the Emperor said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "The berserker who led humanity from the brink of extinction to victory. Please, approach." Thorson moved forward cautiously, his hammer ready. The rage inside him, pushed for release, urged him to smash the being who had ordered the deaths of billions. With effort, he held it back. "No tricks, Emperor. Your fleet is defeated. Your defenses are down. Surrender now and spare your people further suffering." Emperor Kang studied him with golden eyes that seemed ancient beyond measure. "Did you never wonder why we targeted humanity specifically? Why, among all the species in the galaxy, we focused our conquest on your kind? Power, territory, resources," Thorson replied. "The usual reasons empires expand." The Emperor shook his head slowly. "We knew what humanity could become," he said softly. "Our ancestors witnessed your potential millennia ago, when they first visited your world. They saw humans fighting with primitive weapons, but with a ferocity that frightened them. They saw your rapid evolution and adaptation. They predicted what you have now become." He gestured toward Thorson's enhanced form. "We conquered your colonies not for territory, but to prevent your evolution, to keep you divided and weak. The Berserker Protocol was exactly what our ancient scientists feared, humanity unlocking its true potential." Thorson lowered his weapon slightly. "You're saying you attacked us because you were afraid of us. Afraid of what you could become, yes. The Taro have ruled for 50,000 years because no species could match our technology. But humans," the Emperor sighed, "humans adapt. You take whatever is thrown at you and turn it to advantage. Our scientists predicted that within 500 years, unhindered humans would surpass us in every way." The revelation stunned the room to silence. It was Colonel June who finally spoke. "So you tried to exterminate us before we could grow stronger?" "Yes," said the Emperor simply, "a preventive measure that has clearly failed." The war ended not with the destruction of the Taro homeworld, but with a peace treaty signed in that very throne room. The terms acknowledge human sovereignty and the independence of all planets that wished to break from the Empire. The Taro would retain their core systems but surrender their right to conquer other worlds. In the months that followed, Admiral Thorson worked closely with Dr. Subin to place the Berserker Protocol under strict international controls. The treatment would be used only by a small peacekeeping force that blended military discipline with Norse tradition. Warriors with the power to maintain peace, but the wisdom to avoid unnecessary conflict. Other species that had suffered under Taro rule looked to humans for leadership. Admiral Thorson established the Bifrost Accord, named after the rainbow bridge of Norse mythology that connected different worlds. This new alliance promised mutual defense and cooperation among all member planets. On the one-year anniversary of the victory, Thorson stood on a platform in Earth's capital city. The blue lines beneath his skin had faded somewhat with Dr. Subin's treatments, but he would never be fully human again. The Berserker genes had permanently changed him. He addressed the gathered representatives from 30 different species. "The age of imperial domination has ended," he declared. "A new era has begun. We move forward not as conquerors, but as explorers and builders." As the crowd cheered, Thorson touched the silver hammer pendant that hung around his neck, the same one his ancestors had worn for 16 generations. They had preserved the knowledge of the Berserker Protocol through centuries, waiting for the moment when humanity would need its ancient warrior spirit to secure its future. That future now stretched before them, bright with possibility. The end.